Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Appropriate Productions Comics. Today we're going to be doing a review of The Batman. I'm going to break it down into the good, the bad, and the ugly. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, the good. The cinematography of this movie was solid. The shots were amazing, the lighting was done with care and attention. There was a lot of scenes that were just beautiful to look at. And in the same vein, the sets and the environment were just perfect. I've never felt more like I was in Gotham City in my life. The rain felt grimy and unclean. Everything about the movie, the setting was just gothic. It was ugly. In a beautiful way, if that makes any sense. It was beautifully, aesthetically beautiful. It was nice to look at, but in a way that made you feel sort of spiritually like this is not a place you would want to settle down. It was a perfect Gotham City. I liked the Batmobile quite a bit. The movie was done in a very realistic sense. Most superhero movies are far from that. I gotta say, I didn't like the way the realism applied to the costumes too much, in particular the Riddler. Jesus. But I liked the way it played out in the Batmobile. That was really cool. It was a really cool design. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The performances were extremely... I liked the performances quite a bit. I thought Robert Pattinson, right? Whatever the guy's name is, the main actor. He was really good. He was really, really good. Everybody was really good. Catwoman was a lot of fun to watch. The Penguin was engaging. I love the actor, I forget his name. The guy who played the main mafia boss, who turned to be Catwoman's dad. By the way, there's going to be more spoils in this review than a pirate ship. Yar. Okay, the bad. Here we go. Why was everybody whispering all of the time? With the exception of the Riddler, nobody spoke sentences unless it was whispering. That's a little much. For 3 hours, for a 3-hour movie, have a full sentence. How's that sound? The Batman script is a woke nightmare. All of the antagonists in the movie, and there's a bunch of them, they're all old, rich, white men. So that's a nice plot twist from Hollywood, isn't it? It's a nice twist of fate. This is a woke staple to the modern Batman storytelling lore, is you turn Thomas Wayne from a figure of inspiration, not just to Bruce Wayne, but to the city at large, and you turn him into a bastard, a shithead, a liar, a man who's greedy and obsessed with his prestige, one might say. They go much further in the comic books. They turn him into, some of them, they turn him into an alcoholic. He beats his wife, Martha, and stuff like that. Of course, Bruce Wayne would sacrifice all of the rest of his future and opportunities for joy and happiness and family so he could fulfill the honor of a woman-abusing alcoholic man. It doesn't make any sense. They don't do it quite as bad in this movie. What happens in the story is before Batman is born, or I think it's early into his childhood, Thomas Wayne's running for mayor, and a reporter starts running stories on how Martha Wayne is crazy. She keeps on going in and out of the mental institution. That's a new one for me in Batman lore. It's not at all undermining his reason for motivation, the Batman. So the mayor, Thomas Wayne, guy running for mayor, hires Falcone, one of the mob bosses, to take care of the journalist. Only things get out of hand, and he murders the journalist on behalf of Thomas Wayne. Yeah, this is the guy that Bruce Wayne took his oath for. It's just such a shitty thing to do. Leave the dead alone, even in fiction. It's such a woke retelling. Yeah, so there's that too. Alright, the mayor. The first time you see this woman, she is running against the sitting mayor, and she meets Bruce Wayne, and she explains to him that she is going to redistribute his wealth into Gotham City. And she's just saying it like, I'm just going to do this. So if you're going to make a movie that's hyper-realistic, and there's a lot of great things about the movie being hyper-realistic that I enjoy, but if you're going to do the hyper-realism, you can't also have characters running for mayor talking like they don't understand economics or civics at all. You can't do that. That's how teenagers who follow Black Lives Matter thinks economics works. I don't understand how that makes sense. To have this as a character in a movie was ridiculous. This was out of control writing. Put that character away or tone her all the way down. Towards the end, she faces off against the last boss villain, which was the wokest villain anybody could imagine. I was beside myself. I was almost laughing with incredulity. I'll get to that in a bit. So she faces off against the last villain. She gets shot. She's dragged off a stage by Commissioner Gordon, who wasn't a commissioner at the time. And by the end of the fight, she's back in it again. She's totally healthy and fine. What a tough, believable character. So the main villains of the movie would seem to be Falcone and the Riddler. Falcone at least brings some... I mean, he's a villain. There's nothing you would want to emulate of this person's character at all. You wouldn't want to... Even the best things about him are pretty ugly. He's got a lot of composure, he's got a lot of influence, he's got a lot of wealth, he's clearly... He's not a stupid man, but all of them are angled towards antagonistic acts. The Riddler is the other main villain, and this has become so cliche. He reminded me so much of that teenage guy from the Star Wars villain. I don't remember the guy's name, but the one with the lightsaber with the two things, who just always smashes things when he has a bad mood. That was kind of like the Riddler. Emotionally fraught, confused white male lashing out at the world because, in this case, another story of envy. He was orphaned and saw that Bruce Wayne was orphaned, but Bruce Wayne got to be orphaned in a nice big house and it was comfortable and stuff, and the Riddler had to be orphaned in a bad place. And because of that, he tried to blow up and drown the entire city. I mean, alright, I don't... the backstory didn't make it for me. The Riddler wasn't very convincing a villain. He was... the actor portraying him was very good, I thought. I enjoyed the performances. His facial expressions were bang on. He was kind of creepy. Reminded me a lot of Kevin Spacey from Seven. Which is a great role. But the character, the writing for the character was, like, I've already seen him 1,000 times before, and frankly, I have a hard time believing that anybody that emotionally unstable and unbalanced could keep themselves together for the length it would take. I mean, this guy was working at a plan to get back at the city for decades! For decades! Someone that emotionally unbalanced is going to be able to keep a plan going for that long? I don't think so. I don't think that character lasts more than 10 minutes before reinvesting his life into Pornhub. So, yeah, that wasn't exactly woke, but it was unbelievable, and it kind of matches up with the woke pattern a little bit. You know, fraught, emotionally tattered white male dude. Alright, this is definitely nitpicking. I'll be the first one, but it's my video, so I'm going to do it anyway. The Riddler articulates... He's the plot device that keeps the audience in check with the story. Every now and then, the Riddler will release a video to the media, and the media plays it, and the audience gets to watch it through Bruce Wayne's eyes, or whoever. And throughout these videos, the Riddler makes accusations of leading characters of the city from the past. You guys think they were great for this, but they actually harmed the city in all these different ways. So this is nitpicking, but no one ever double checks this. If there's a terrorist who's making accusations, there would be at least one journalist in the city who would do a little bit of research to say, actually, Thomas Wayne was in another part of the city when this happened. He couldn't have done that. Or something. One thing. No, it didn't happen. But then again, it was a 3-hour movie. Maybe it was in there and they cut it out. I don't know. Just nitpicking. And this one isn't exactly straightforward, but it seemed to me watching it as the movie developed, Bruce Wayne was kind of lost. He thought he was in it. His motivation for healing the city was to do it through vengeance. It's a nice heroic trait. And on behalf of restoring the honor of his parents. His parents become kind of gross midway through, they're corrupted. He just seemed kind of confused throughout. Meanwhile, Catwoman's hero's journey was a little bit more articulated. The main character of the movie was certainly Batman, but it seems that Catwoman's was the story that had the hero's journey. Sort of like in Infinity War, it was clearly Thor who had the hero's journey. He was the one who went to the depths and lost an eye and had to sacrifice himself to be reborn in fire and all that stuff. Catwoman more closely matched Joseph Campbell's tale of character arc than did Batman. That's not a criticism, it's just kind of weird. And it, woke stuff. And the last of the bad, we're going to get into the final boss of the Batman. I don't even know where to start with this. So the big fight at the end of the movie is between, and I'm not making this up, Proud Boys who watch too much 4chan. They fell for the Riddler's online misinformation campaign. It took nothing to do. Basically, his story to these guys online, who he never met, was that the city had some lies, and the only way to fix it was to shoot everybody and drown people and stuff. Like, there's definitely crazy fuckers out there who want to cause harm to strangers just to make themselves feel better. But the work in building up this villain, they just appeared right at the very end. There was no mention of the Riddler having anything to do with a team of thugs or gangs or anything like that. You didn't even know that he had a chat room towards the end of the movie. There was never a mention of it. So it's just a bunch of thugs coming out of nowhere. And you would get the impression that the kind of thugs who would follow a guy like the Riddler wouldn't be ace snipers and such. But as it turns out in this movie, they're all perfect fucking shots. Yeah, I can't think of anything more wokey cliche than to have a main villain being a bunch of maladjusted, emotionally unbalanced, and easily confused white dudes dressing up in ridiculous costumes, shooting at strangers because they fell for a misinformation campaign online in a way that they happened to organize like Proud Boys. I can't even imagine that. Like, how did you put that into a movie and expect to be taken seriously? I was so upset. I wasn't concerned for any of the characters. Batman. If Batman can't take these thugs, then it's not a Batman movie. If Catwoman needs to help, then it's not a Batman movie. It's not a superhero movie. These are people that citizens arrest in real life. I could not believe it as an end of movie for a superhero. This was unyieldingly disappointing. This is the worst villain I've ever seen from any superhero movie. Hands down, bar none, done. On to the ugly. I have to say it. It was a cool shot, and I admired the attempt, but making a hyper-realistic superhero suit is just... I don't know, man. It didn't work for me. I don't know. And also, the idea of Batman walking through machine gun fire, having a suit that can stop that, it didn't feel like... It felt more like something Punisher would do. Like, the mental state of Batman is more, in my eyes, more about guile and... subterfuge, Jesus, espionage, sneaky tricks, hiding in shadows, ninja work. Punisher's the guy who walks through bullet fire and just shoots back and stuff. Yeah, nitpicking perhaps, but it didn't really feel... It got too realistic and lost some of the cool magic that makes Batman so cool. This is so petty. I'm going to say it anyway. If you're going to make a hyper-realistic movie in the same vein, you have to make the main character who's tailing somebody, you know, when there's a car driving and other characters tailing that car, you can't do it one vehicle behind. It has to be 3 or 5. It has to be a bunch of cars behind. I will notice you tailing me for... If you're doing it for 5 or 10 minutes, I'm going to notice. If Batman's tailing a career criminal, that guy is going to see it happen within seconds. There's no way that's not happening. Every time Batman tails somebody, I lost belief in the movie. Again, petty, but there I am. Sort of in the same vein, there's only 2 scenes in the movie that dropped my suspension of disbelief. The movie, despite my criticisms of parts of the movie or the story, it had me the whole way through. I was lost from the real world in the theater. I was lost in the world of Gotham and the city and everything. The setting was so good. It was so good. I just fell for everything. With the exception of the tailing scenes, when I saw that happen, I remembered I was in a movie theater watching a movie, and also there was a scene where Alfred is injured and sent into a coma, and Bruce goes to visit, and the first thing that happens when Alfred wakes up is Bruce is like, "Why did you lie to me?" Now, I get it's Bruce and everything, so, you know, you get some... Maybe get the guy an apple juice or something first. He's Alfred. Like, he's just come out of a coma, for fuck's sakes. Anyway, you know, that's fine. Give him hell. But what lost my belief in that scene was that Alfred comes out of a coma and is immediately lucid and articulate. He's like, "No, Bruce," and he goes through the entire story and explains the whole thing. So I've never been in a coma before. I've been knocked out before. I've lost consciousness. I've had a few concussions. When you gain consciousness, you're not reciting Shakespeare. That's not going to happen. That lost me. I'm going to close on this. It isn't really a critique or a benefit. I guess it just depends on the taste. The movie The Batman reminded me alarmingly of the movie 7. The set pieces were very similar. The Riddler was extremely comparable to Kevin Spacey's character from 7, right down to the apartment. The notes they kept and everything. There's a scene that's almost the exact same when a character is going through the Riddler's notes, and when in 7, when they're going through Kevin Spacey's character's notes, there's parts of the movie that overlap almost perfectly. It might... I don't know what to make of this. It's sort of creatively lazy in some ways because of the extreme nature of the overlap, but it works so well at the same time. I defy you to go back and watch that movie 7 and not come to the same conclusion that it looks like you're watching Gotham City minus Joker driving in a fish-shaped car or something like that. Yeah, I really liked it actually, but there were some points they could have maybe perhaps left some of the details a little skewed. You don't have to overlap perfectly. Alright, quick recap. The character work was great. The sets and the scenes and the costumes, I don't think I've ever really noticed costume work before, but every single scene I felt like I was inside Gotham City. It was great. The character work again was amazing. I liked the Penguin a lot. Falcone was great. I love that actor. Can't remember his name. Catwoman was like watching on screen the Batman Year One version. It was great stuff. I liked it. Her work was great. Bruce Wayne was... He seemed like a moody Bruce Wayne for the first time. Yeah, I enjoyed all the character works, and the sets were spectacular. The story was pretty good overall. There was specific points throughout. It seemed like every 2 to 5 minutes, something in my eyes happened that made me go, you know. But the rest of the movie was solid enough throughout. The car chase was amazing. I didn't even mention the car chase. The car chase was amazing. I had a great time watching that, for sure. I enjoyed everything throughout the whole thing. The movie reminded me a little bit of watching Batman: The Long Halloween with that I mentioned 7 a few times, and Batman Year One. You put those 3 together and turn into a really gritty movie. That's what you get as the Batman. It's not a bad movie. I'd definitely go see a sequel. If I was with somebody, I'd probably talk a lot of shit, though, if it was like the first one, but I'd still pay to go see it anyway. I enjoyed it, mostly. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good day.